keep hanging up on him? What is up?
What are
with
we
that?
gonna talk about? Ahead of time. That's good. Hey, watch.
Coming to you live on the Government Access Channel from Mario Bagnoni Chambers in beautiful downtown Erie. It's the Taxpayers Hotline Show with your hosts, Kaz Kwiatkowski and John Steiner.
John Steiner, did they miss me or I forgot?
You know, they said your name too?
I wasn't listening. See, you know what that problem is?
Yeah,
You can't listen when your mouth's flapping.
that's true. We're always up here talking and trying to figure out what we're gonna actually talk about today.
John Steiner show, that's scary though.
The cat, those cats, yeah, me and you.
Can you
and
imagine
I.
that? I mean, that'd be bigger than Stephen Colbert.
We got Councilman Anderson, that's, oh God,
So yeah, before we take our first phone call, that's right,
this could get in there. Hold on, caller.
we got Councilman Carl Anderson.
John Steiner, and this is Kaz Kwiatkowski
We got the trifecta here.
on a beautiful Monday afternoon. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, hi. My question is, would Erie ever become a sanctuary city?
That's a good question. That has to be discussed amongst council, the mayor, but right now it isn't, and I don't see any movement that way.
Yeah, because I know Philadelphia is a sanctuary city, and so would Erie model themselves off Philadelphia in the event of becoming a sanctuary city?
That's not even a question I can answer because it's not even on the agenda. Nobody's brought it up. It's a very hot topic around the country. I don't see it happening, but if it does, I would think we would use a lot of cities as a guide. But right now, there's nothing on the agenda.
We do have a lot of immigrants moving to the city.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're a mini sanctuary city, so,
An unofficial.
yeah, an unofficial city. Yeah.
But nobody ever told our cops that they can't make arrests or anything like that, so, it's not an official.
Well, they don't have diplomatic immunity. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I mean, sanctuary cities where, the mayor and council defy the federal government and say, you will not cooperate with.
Oh, like I think San Francisco's done that.
Well, yeah, they say, we're not gonna cooperate.
California became sanctuary cities.
Yeah,
Yeah, and, some people, they find a benefit to that, but, there's nothing been said. I mean,
Benefit to that?
people think we are, but,
yeah.
there's nothing, if tomorrow the feds came in here, there'd be no, written orders not to cooperate with them. Let's put it that way.
We're not forcing anybody else out or, refusing people. So I think Erie does have a vibrant, immigrant.
We've always had illegals in this town. It just,
Legals or illegals?
illegals and legals both.
Yeah,
It's
right.
always happened. Anytime you had,
Have a presence in Erie?
pardon?
Does ICE have a presence in Erie?
The border patrol, Carl, what do you think? I don't think they have a direct office.
Yeah, I wouldn't say ICE, with
But,
the border patrol and.
Probably doing raids.
They probably,
ICE do
like-
raids.
Homelands.
Like a lot of big offices, they probably have a main presence in Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Cleveland, and those offices would probably be, Erie would be attached to them. Much like our FBI, it's a satellite office
Yeah.
with a couple agents, but
I mean, we do have a lot of ICE in Erie. I don't know if we have ICE.
not that way though.
Yeah, I was glad to have ICE over the weekend, I tell you that.
The federal law enforcement agents, not ICE frozen rain.
No, we're having a little fun because,
I mean, we know that. I mean. Anything else, caller?
No, that's it.
thank you.
Bud. Thanks for calling.
Thanks, bye.
It's this weekend was a roasty.
The fear though, I saw my cohorts in the media and they said, what are you guys doing out there? I go, what do you mean? I said, you'll die out there.
Yeah.
You're gonna boil. Your own guy said your shoes are gonna stick to the pavement. I said, we were kids when it got hot like this. We just figured, you hit the drinking fountain a little bit more.
Yeah.
We didn't get terrified,
Yeah, right.
The world didn't come to an end.
Yeah, right. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, I talked to the firemen on the ladder tower because they were at Richmond Arms a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And, I asked him, I said, I thought you guys were going to get new fire trucks. And they said they didn't know that they were going to get any new fire trucks.
They're doing a study on one. I think we have plans to buy one, but
Weren't they talking about leasing one or something like that, or?
well, they talked about it, but they found out that the leasing wasn't that great of a deal for us.
Was it cost effective?
No, because, you know, they looked at that, because that came up.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you order a truck, what you do is you kind of order a bare bones truck, and then they build it to fit your needs.
Right.
So we are studying it, but, you know, it came up last year during budget. Of course, they're not a cheap date, let's put it that way.
No, they're about $1 million, ain't they, for a pumper truck, ain't it?
I don't know the exact price, but I can tell you they're definitely not cheap, okay? And, you know, they get built to your specs, and, you know, by the time you're done, you know, you pay for what you want on it.
Right.
And,
But I think $1 million is
But
pretty,
Francis, though,
I think it's a lot more than $1 million.
had,
more than $1 million?
Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen the latest bids. You know, they'll come to council when
Right.
yeah,
they'll study it, they'll go around, and there's only a few places that actually build them, that's a problem.
Yeah, right.
And don't laugh when we have to get it fixed.
yeah, the
We have to take it to
Miracle of
Virginia.
France, they went out of business, didn't they?
Who did?
Miracle of France.
I don't know if they went out of business, and I know it was getting tougher to find, you know.
Yeah, I thought they sold their franchise to different companies, I thought.
That could be, you know, someday I'll try to get the chief on here to give a little update.
Yeah.
But-
Ask the chief if they'll ever come back with the Miracle of Francis.
But we try to recycle our trucks a little bit. You know, they put the older ones as backups, and then they get rid of the backups. They don't have much value usually after a while because the technology's not there.
Yeah.
But
You know, you think they'll ever get a hook and ladder where the guy steers the trailer in the back?
you know that don't laugh. That came up. That's called a reticulating truck.
Oh, yeah.
My first year as controller, there was an argument.
There's cab on it.
Yeah, well, there was an argument whether we should go to a stiff arm or a reticulator. And the firemen, they like the reticulator in the city. You know why?
Because you can turn the corners easy.
Right. Now, some parts of the city, it's almost impossible to bring a stiff leg. Because when you come in there, you got no room, you can take out a telephone pole, a couple cars.
The car.
Yeah, you just don't have the room. But the reticulators, they used to keep at least one, and then they'd have a couple stiff arms. And the reticulators, like for the bad parts of the city, where the old inner city, where you really needed a guy to maneuver. But
Yeah.
but they're not cheap either, and it never you know, it comes up from time to time. But who knows? You know, different mayor, different chief.
Right.
You might come back. You know.
Well, speaking of the firefighters,
They'll ever come out with an electric fire truck?
Pardon?
Electric fire truck. Because they came out with the electric semis
Oh, I don't know. I need, you know,
in 2020.
I'd want to make sure the technology's
Add a
pretty good.
couple more $1 million to the price tag for,
Oh, is it?
Probably.
Hey, then. I'll leave that alone then. You know? I was just wondering.
yeah,
Hey, thanks for calling.
thanks for calling in.
Good day.
You too.
What did you say, Carl? About
yeah, speaking of the firefighters, they had a great fundraising event for the Autism Society at the end of last week.
they're great guys, aren't they?
Super guys, but it was outside, and it was a good thing the firefighters were there, because boy, was it hot.
Yeah.
And
Those guys taught me a lesson. I did the course one time with them. They took us all out for a day in the life of a fireman, and I think I drank a case of water. And I didn't realize why until we went into that firebox.
Well, was that the same day as their golf thing, or was that?
that was the fundraising event.
That was
Oh,
it?
that was the golf, that was for autism? Figures.
I wasn't gonna specifically mention that it was a golf tournament, because,
Well, what's
you
it?
know, then people might think we were having too much fun, but.
No,
but,
you
yes,
guys
but,
had fun.
Yeah, but all of the proceeds, went to the Autism Society, and
That was
I know
nice.
the Autism Society was very appreciative, and the firefighters do that every year. They pick a charity, and, they've been very, very generous.
Yeah, they were a good bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have, they do a lot of good for our community, as do the police anymore. You know, it's a police athletic league and
Well,
other
yeah,
things
you know,
like
they used
that.
to have, I have my, somewhere in my house, I have my original PAL card.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's still good, signed by Chief Williams.
No kidding?
It's back in, it had to be, I'm guessing, we moved to my new house in like around 58, 59. So it has to be, circa 56, 57. And all the policemen's sons got one, you know. And I wasn't quite old enough to go yet, but by that, then when I was old enough, they used to use the boys club, I think. After that, it kind of like lost impetus, but it was a big nationwide movement at one time.
Yeah.
Of course, our guys, we were a major city back then, you know, we were like one of the top 100 cities.
If you could find that, and present it to him, I bet Ron DiNicola would give you an exemption life membership, just for being able
If
to
he
find it.
promises me, he'll take care of it, because, you know,
Put it in the firefighters museum.
Yeah.
I swear, I remember seeing it, it had the shield on there, and I believe it was signed by Chief Williams at that time.
Wow.
You're probably the only elected official that's been on the school board, controller, city council, and then, I mean, you're gonna be the treasurer.
At one time, I held 3 offices, not even Lou did that.
Really?
Well, there was a little disagreement about me quitting the school board,
Oh, I remember that.
and they wanted me to stay on, and they found a state law that says I could. You know,
You
it
could
was,
do both, which two could
well,
you do?
you can't be a councilman and a school director.
Oh, you can't?
And you can't be a mayor and a school director, or a councilman and,
One or the other?
but you could be a row officer.
Row office, yeah.
And a voting member of a, not the same body, but a different body. But it got into a political nightmare, and, you know, I didn't want any part of it. But at that time, I was also a committee person, so. I joked, I said, not even Lou had that on his resume. But,
And when we
Look
write,
out, Lou, here comes Cass.
when we write the book and Carl does the research for Erie's,
you know, I'm never gonna be in a book. I got that figured out, that the Times doesn't like me for some whatever reason. That's okay,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I'm never gonna be, you're never gonna read an article about me or anything like that. You know, other people that.
Our Times or the Times News?
Times News. You know, you always get an article about somebody and they tell about your past.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm never gonna get one.
sure you will.
You might.
Your obituary.
I mean, Pat Howard paid me the highest compliment, called me Don, what was it, Don Quixote one time.
Did he?
Yeah, me and, this other girl on the school board.
Oh, really?
So what I did, I bought a Don Quixote statue. I used to have it in my office.
Yeah,
And I said, you know, but, you know, thanks for giving me that impetus, you know.
there you go.
But you can always turn what do you say? Turn a negative into a positive.
That's absolutely.
Carl does that. He likes everything, keep positive, keep positive.
Well, Carl, we used to call him our Nautilus
Yeah,
when he was on our committees.
yeah.
You know, they'd say, where's Carl? Like, where's what's that guy? Where's Waldo?
Waldo?
They never see
Oh,
Carl.
wait, am I Nautilus or Waldo? What is it?
Well, you're Nautilus.
Waldo.
Well, you know,
Waldo.
well, you remember the comment I made when you raised the funds for our monument?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Carl was the first guy I thought of, okay?
Yeah.
He had the experience, all that, not blowing smoke because he's here, but, you know, he had a track record. So I said to John Williams, I said, you know, Carl's our man.
Yeah.
So he never showed up in meetings, and rightly so.
Yeah.
He only came when he had to. He was out doing the
He's
hard
out
work.
doing his thing.
So, you know, every time we turn around, whoop, there's another check,
A
right?
lot of people don't, yeah, he does the legwork. and-
So we called him, I said to the guys, I said, you guys are in the Navy, think of him like a submarine.
Yeah,
I said, you don't see him until he has to come up once in a while.
right.
I said, but, you know, he's there working, you know.
And if anybody.
I have to
actually
come
knew-
up for air more often lately, cause, you know, I can't keep it in.
Well, he's got a lot of stuff going, he's with LERTA and the, community college.
Well, I mean,
What is going on with that? I mean, my God, I mean,
I think what we gotta do, okay, my opinion all along was, there've been so many things talked about it. Just come up with a plan. One that makes sense for us. Not what you think you want, but one that is the best plan for me. I kinda like the plan where, like other states did, where colleges are taking care of a lot of the academic stuff,
yeah,
okay?
yeah,
But the technical side is lacking. I mean, the county needs money at the VOTEC. The city has lost control of Tech High School.
yeah.
You know, and so these jobs like, you know, Barron has a lot of entry positions for things like chefs and plastic technology.
Yeah.
And yet we don't intermingle with the high schools and them. And the community college would be a good way for businesses
Yeah.
to train their workforce of the future, you know. I don't know, that's my idea, but I could be in left field, you know?
No, I think you're on target. We're working on a plan to try and do just that.
Cause I know, and my brother-in-law joked with me, he said when he went, he lived in Virginia, but he drove 100 miles, went into North Carolina, cause they were hired. And they told him basically, well, you're not qualified, but we're gonna send you to a school, and you will be qualified in like so many weeks. So it's like, and the plants that were moving in there said, well, we need 20 people to run this kind of technology. You know, and so, bam, you know, they were,
Well, with the way things, you know, I went to, well, actually, we were both there, the public hearing regarding the community college. I mean, yeah, I'll speak for it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but, you know, Carl's, you know, he's way more involved than I am. I'll let him talk about it, but.
but
I
you were
was-
disappointed?
I thought I was on candid camera. I mean, I didn't even think it was for real. I thought we were being like punked. I was waiting for Ashton Kutcher to come running out somewhere and go, just kidding.
You know, the toughest thing in this town is to get people, I don't know why, we have a tremendous inferiority complex.
It's
I
not
don't know.
that. It was just,
Well, I mean, but it controls the way we think.
yeah,
We never think that we can do anything
yeah.
without having to look at, the first thing I hear is, well, how does Pittsburgh doing their job? I don't care about them. Okay, I really don't care about them because, you know, we can do things on our own, okay?
Well, we know we can do it.
Well, you-
We can do it and we can get there.
Yeah, I mean, you were,
But you know, the biggest thing, you know this, Carl, you have to get by the naysayers right away.
Right.
Well,
And say, you know what, if we never tried anything, well, you know what not trying gets you, you just stay there.
well, why don't you give us, I mean, you would know better than all of us. Give us an inside look of what you know, what you can share with the community as far as this whole process and the task force and all that. Why don't you share some of the things that you guys are working on? Instead of
I
us
think,
babbling.
I think the biggest issue overall, and both of you guys hit on it, is confusion. And the more, it's being talked about out there, the more confused people are, because we're not getting the facts of what the potential is, what the potential collaboration, what the potential could be for us to have an independent community college, and so it's overall it's confusion, and frankly with a lot of people frustration. Now, as you said, there's the naysayers that say we don't need it or the taxpayer shouldn't pay for it. You know, you're always going to have those people, but I would say overall the one thing that I think the community has recognized now more than anything is there's a sense out there, a general consensus that it's time, that this is what we need, this is what we need to move towards. And my county council colleagues, for sure, in the 2 votes that we've taken on this issue so far, you can see that.
Just call back and we'll put you on hold. Quiet, Carl.
But that both of those have gone through in a 7-0 vote, which show that, you know, council, who represents roughly about 40,000 people each, or 45,000 people, in the 7 council districts, say that they want to work towards collaboration, they want to work together, they know that this is something that we need, we recognize it, but the question is, how do we get there? And that's, essentially, that's what the task force was created to do, to make sure that we're making it public, that we have public hearings. Of course, we did last week. There's another public hearing that we're participating in on the 24th of July this week at the Booker T. Washington Center,
What's that?
7 o'clock in the evening. People should attend that. You know, we want
That's gonna
free
get,
ideas. We
that's
want,
gonna get live.
yeah, and I mean, it will get lively. It's, you
Oh,
know,
boy.
it's an emotional, impassioned issue, particularly with you know, some of those groups, and rightly so. I mean, this is something that's important to our community.
Sometimes you gotta let the task force, I mean, I don't mind transparency, that doesn't bother me. Sometimes though, you have to let the task force at least do their work before, you know, everybody wants like the, you know, you got the media, they wanna know every step of the way. Sometimes what happens is, when you're trying to do your job and study it, like we did with Lerda, you know, people are second guessing you every step. And so you need that vetting process where, you know, you form a task force so that they can sit there, throw things around and say, what do you think? And then bring the options. You can still listen to the public hearing, and if you miss something, you can add it. But I think, you know, this micromanagement along the way, you gotta let the people run a little bit to come up with some ideas. And then if you don't like them at the public hearing, you know.
Right, well, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, you do have to let the task force do its work, but the general public and the community at large needs to feel confident in the people that are doing the work, and that those people are going to bring the transparency once they've done the due diligence out to the public.
Yeah, because once you got all the, you studied it, the alternatives, you know, because there's a lot under the, what do you call it, under the radar work. You know, a lot of groundwork, you know, talking to other communities and.
You know, when I attended the public hearing itself, I mean, I was like stunned. I don't, everybody in the audience, we were looking at each other like, is this for real?
Wait, was it getting out of hand?
No, it was just the whole, this MOA of, I'll get into it, my ask what I think of it.
Let's see, hit this one here.
Go ahead, caller.
You gotta hit this one.
We've been hitting this one for the last month.
Oh, really? Are you there?
Go ahead, caller.
Quit hitting the buttons, man.
Yeah, there we go. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I have a question. How do you go about getting a gaming license for slot machines?
Let's do the
Ooh.
state.
Well, you know, we'll go to the county because we have nothing to do with it. Maybe he knows.
Finish, hold on. I see slot machines in the gas stations and in the stores.
Where?
Oh, there's 4 of them on 18th and Parade.
I think they're in bars too now.
Slot machines?
Well, those are statewide licensed.
Yeah.
Are they slot machines, Carl, or are they the, or are they what
They're
you
slot
call?
machines.
They're slot machines. I know
Yeah.
a slot machine.
Really?
Yeah, they are.
I didn't even know they were out there.
Yeah, they're out there.
Well,
That has to be through the state.
Yeah,
How much does a gaming license cost?
That I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's, you know, there's different light gaming lights.
you know what I would suggest is that you call, who's your legislator? Are you east side, west side?
I don't know. You.
No, I mean on the state
The
level.
state level. Do you live on the east side or the west side, ma'am?
I don't know. I'm on the east side.
Okay, that would be.
Pat Harkins.
Yeah. Yeah, see if I, see if I have Pat Harkins' number at his office.
Or you keep talking, I'll look it up.
Yeah, John will give you the number. Call his office and have them, you know, explore it for you. I don't know, are those individual, you think, Carl, or is that like the casino farming them out? You don't want to know, right?
oh no, those would be individual.
Well, they would, it's like Country Fair would own them or whatever.
Yeah,
Casino.
Yeah, well, we're gonna give you Representative Harkins' number. Call his office, cause he'd be the one to,
459-1949.
you got that?
Yeah, 459-1949.
49.
Yeah, I mean, you can get, you know, small, it all depends on what you're trying to.
Yeah, there's small gaming county gives out small gaming
That's you
licenses,
guys,
right?
isn't it?
But those aren't slot machines though.
right, no.
Those are like games of chance and you can get those rather easy, but slot machines, yeah, I would call him and ask him to look it up for you.
Sometimes it's hard to hear.
Does that help you?
The license. How much is a liquor license?
Those are pretty expensive. I don't
Well,
know.
that varies with the type of license too, so.
Yeah, it all varies.
You'd have to, you know, that's not something the city does, but once again, I would call, you know, Representative Harkins and have him, the LCB would be in charge of,
Yeah, that would be state.
and there's different levels, there's like resort licenses and, there's different levels of them.
But there's only so many licenses that would be available to a community, so.
Right, we just transferred one the other day.
Right, the license go on the secondary market, so it would have to be purchased from a private owner, and those can go anywhere.
Unless the Commonwealth releases some new ones, which,
Yeah, but they haven't, I don't think they've released new ones in the community in several years.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah,
They're all secondary market, and they
I know
could
we
run any-
transferred one from Harbor Creek, and the only reason why we voted on is because it has to cross like, you know, political lines, and we have to okay it, you know.
Is it like I just Googled it, you have a full liquor license and you have a beer and wine license?
You got resort licenses.
Yeah.
So
right.
bar and restaurant, liquor stores.
But they could run anywhere from, 10,000, some people on the, up on, Upper Peach Street have paid $1 million for a license.
Liquor license,
Especially if you have to buy one from somebody, they know it's valuable.
Yeah, and the cheaper the license, a lot of times there's fines that haven't been paid that are associated
And
with
sometimes the
license.
state takes these licenses from, it holds them in, you know, till they dispose of them.
Right,
it says here that a liquor license can cost up to $14,000.
That's if you get a new one, but,
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
new one, that's,
right.
that
but if
one-
you're buying from somebody, it might,
Right.
they're gonna sell what they think it's worth.
yeah.
yeah, right.
Does that help you, ma'am?
So anybody can get a liquor license if they got the cash, right?
No, I think you get vetted out too.
I'm sure they got
I
it.
think you gotta go through a process. They don't just hand them out. The state's touchy about handing them out.
It says,
You have to have a location to be able to assign it to and all of that.
it says the state of Pennsylvania requires that anyone wishing to distribute or sell alcohol must apply and be approved to do so.
That means they're gonna do a criminal background check on you probably.
Yep,
Now, in rare occasions, like when you see these festivals, they can get a 1 or 2 day liquor license. That's an emergency one from the Commonwealth, but that's only for an event. But there again, I can remember when I had to,
Well, those are for nonprofits.
and we had to sign, somebody had to sign for it, and
Yeah.
somebody had to be the, you know, something went wrong, that was your name on it.
Right, those event licenses are given to nonprofits.
But
Right.
okay, I'm gonna hang up so somebody else can call.
Yeah, and then you call Representative Harkins, if you live, like you said, you live on the east side, and ask him, he's got a very good staff, and I'm sure they can answer your questions from the state's, you know, side of it.
thanks for calling.
It's good questions, but, you know, there again, it's, you know, the Commonwealth does all that.
So, getting back to the, community college thing. The newspapers obviously taking their stance and,
Well, I love the newspaper, they go one way and then a week later go the other way.
well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go the way they went.
I call them what was the name of well, they could be the whale or the seal at SeaWorld. They do more flips than they did.
More flip-flopping than they do.
Yeah.
I like that one.
And they get away with it. I mean, you know, if a politician does that,
Listen, the newspaper.
they got us marked down.
Well, I don't know if they've really flip-flopped on the issue. I think the newspaper has been rather consistent with this issue, and that is that, as everybody in the community now believes, we deserve and should have a community college here, for, those that need it, and the business community that needs the training facilities. I think with the newspaper, like everyone else, they're trying to get to the root of what is it that this proposal is, or that's potentially coming forward, and new information keeps coming out. But it goes back to what you said, Kaz, that we need to do our work to get to the heart of the information, so when we bring it out to the public, we can bring out accurate information, so we don't have all of this back and forth and creating this confusion. And so, I think it's like a pelican diving in the water. I mean, you dive down in to grab what you can, and just, whatever you pull up, and some of it falls out. But, we want to make sure that we're much more consistent and accurate than that, before we bring that forward. And certainly I can say on behalf of my county council colleagues, not that we're pelicans, but we're gonna make sure that you know, we have that information before.
Thank God.
Yeah, before any vote would be taken, and, you know, I can rest assure the community that, my county council colleagues, will not take a vote on something until they've done their homework, and until they know what the financial cost to this community is gonna be.
It's a big decision.
When I was at the public hearing, what I saw, what I saw of the MOA, I was disturbed. I saw a bunch of maybes. I saw a bunch of, questionable business. I mean, they expect us to give away our application. They expect us to get the facility. If I'm wrong, speak, you know, correct me, Carl.
Well, the only thing that I would say is the MOA is not done.
Yeah,
The MOA was prematurely brought to the community or leaked to the community, whatever you wanna say.
yeah.
It was still in draft form. I am saying it's,
Well, if
in
that-
my opinion, it's draft form. It was not,
Yeah, well, that needs to be, like,
yeah, and
And
again,
that's the problem.
made to-
These
right.
things that leak
Paper
out
airplane.
too early are taken out of context.
right, and that's adds to the confusion.
here's what needs to happen to that draft, cause I tell you what. Ooh, cause that was, I was embarrassed.
We need to throw the draft at the phone, or we need
Yeah.
to throw it in the wastebasket?
There wasn't a wastebasket. Bill, I don't wanna throw it on the floor, Mike get mad at me. But I tell you, you can't give up all your cards. They want us to give up our applications for a bunch of maybes and mights, and we might work with you, and you may be able to, but the thing that's,
How long we been going at this? This is,
it's,
About two decades?
yeah, that's what, you know,
but we appreciate you guys doing your due diligence to make sure that we get something right. I know, you know, with Empower Erie and Ron DeSantis, or
DeNicola.
Ron DeSantis.
you know what I get mad
love
about?
Ron.
People,
I know.
people look at this
Remember
like,
Ron?
they go, you know, we've been going at this for 2 decades. Well, I can't help what other groups did.
Yeah.
I tell people, every council is different. So when you get some council like this and a group of people that say, you know, enough's enough, let's make some progress. You know, you always get chastised because, well, you know, look how long it took. No, it didn't take us that long.
And, yeah,
This has been, you know, every group is different. So when you get a group in there now that wants to move, like things are changing here pretty fast now.
when the news,
And you know, you better, what's that Will Rogers said? When you're facing a train on the tracks, you got 3 options.
what,
You can try it out, run it, hop on board, or move out of the way,
yeah,
right?
right,
You know,
I mean, this.
Or it
train-
gets squashed, I mean, I guess
That's,
there's 4 options.
that's what our.
try it out, run it. That's what I meant by
It's
that.
squashed.
Yeah, but I don't think Will Rogers, you know, he didn't want that option, he wasn't.
I mean, what I
Wasn't
saw-
trying to get squashed.
I mean, I don't, that was like a they wouldn't even show up to talk about it. The NPRC, they weren't even there. They were like, and they're gonna show up at the Booker T?
Well, no,
What?
no, they don't have a representative that can, participate on Wednesday, so, the final panelist group is being put together, so, so we'll, you know,
Are you okay, John?
but we're gonna keep it moving, I mean, there's
Thank God.
no question about it.
Wow.
We're not gonna give up, and I believe that, I still believe that we can come up with something that works for the community.
Are we gonna work with them, do you think, Carl? Is it, I mean, will they meet us halfway to make something?
Well, I mean, I'm still open to collaboration, the members of the task force are open to potential collaboration, and, I think there's a number of my council colleagues that are open to collaboration, if it's the right collaboration. If it's gotta work. A partnership, and I've said this before, is a partnership. It's a fair and equal, you know, combining of 2 or more groups.
Or as the old
And-
timer said, takes 2 to tango.
Yeah, and, you know, so if we have a fair and equal partnership, then, you know, I think the potential for, collaboration still exists.
Hold on 1 second. Oh, go ahead.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Do the taxpayers foot the bill for these community colleges?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, in Pennsylvania, we have a,
John, it sounds like you're talking from a box.
Oh,
we-
move your mic
we
closer.
have a
Can
community.
you hear him now or not? Go ahead, try, Carl.
The state of Pennsylvania, under the Community College Act, created,
That's not close enough to the mic.
Really?
they created a department for,
Hey, hold on. Mike, can you turn up that one, let's see if you're any better. These are, some of them will work better than
Yeah,
others.
you gotta,
can you hear me now?
you gotta scream into them.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, can't hear him at all.
You turned me off, Mike.
Can't hear John either.
You wanna try mine? Come.
No, that's okay. Can you hear me now?
There.
Is that better?
Just speak louder.
Okay, so, under the Community College Act in Pennsylvania, the state has set up, that we can have as many as 21 community colleges. We have 14.
Now, John sounds like he's talking from the back of the room.
That's, Carl.
That's Carl talking, that's not even me talking.
Okay, there you go. Now I can hear John.
Okay.
Can you hear me better? Or there's kind of an echo on this phone, or on this mic? But can you hear me okay?
Not really. It sounds like you're coming from the back of the
Why
room.
don't you come over this way?
Okay. We're gonna change spots for a minute.
I gotta turn the music on while we do musical chairs.
Well, anyway, the taxpayers get stuck with the college.
You gotta talk right
Well, I don't, let's not say that they get stuck with them, but in answer to your question, do the taxpayers pay for community colleges? And the simple answer is yes, but let me explain it to you. Under the Community College Act in Pennsylvania, we now have 14 community colleges. We could have potentially as many as 21. That's what the act allows. The taxpayers, under what we pay to the state, whether it's through, portions of sales tax or whatever money our local community sends to the state, we are putting in this pot of money that funds these 14 community colleges. So Erie County are paying for the other 14 colleges around the state, and we don't even have one here ourselves. We're still paying, we're paying. As taxpayers, we're paying for it. So the argument to having a independent, standalone community college was that we deserve, as Pennsylvania tax-paying citizens, to have the equal opportunity to have a community college as these other areas of the state, because we're paying into that fund.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. Put yourself in my shoes. I'm 87 years old. I just got my school taxes on Friday. $1,000, and don't even have any kids in school. That is utterly ridiculous.
Yep, let me finish. Because we're paying into that fund. No matter what we do, whether we have a community college in Erie or not, we're paying into that state fund and we get nothing in return. So now what we want to try and do is have a community college in Erie. And the proposal, so this is why I wanted to say there's two different things two levels of things we're talking about here. The proposal that's being put forward, as it was brought to county council, was saying that there would be no local taxpayer money used in creating this collaboration. So that's what we're fighting for. So you have on the one instance, because I'm trying to answer your question honestly and accurately, you have the existing Community College Act, which takes taxpayer money and puts it into these community colleges around the state. $300 million, roughly $21 million per each of these 14 schools. Now, what we're hoping to accomplish is by what we've been promised in working on this collaboration is that no local taxpayer money would be used. Now, as we begin to go down the process and do our due diligence, we're finding out, well, Erie County has to have some skin in the game. Well, you can't expect us not to do anything. Well, we gotta have some taxpayer money. Well, wait a second, you just said no taxpayer money from Erie County. So we're trying to figure out if this collaboration is gonna work. Not only does it have to be an equal partnership, but it has to be that Erie County taxpayer money is not gonna be used. So what would the potential elements of that be? And the elements are getting money from the state, getting other forms of grant money, having, you know, some of the money come out of for the operations, out of the NPRC budget, if that's the collaboration, and local philanthropic money. That's not Erie County taxpayer money.
Right.
So how have we gotten off track to say that Erie County taxpayers would have to come up with money? And that's why my colleagues and I on county council slowed the process down, and tabled the resolution that was brought forward. And again, it was a 7-0 vote. So it's not as if this is a 4-3 or this is, you know, we're arguing on which way we're going or passing. We're all in agreement that if this is gonna work, this has to be rolled out in the way it's been promised, and that is no Erie County taxpayer money. So they voted in a 7-0 vote to table until we can figure out exactly what the finances are gonna be, and that we're not going to stick the taxpayers with the bill.
Which they're already paying for.
Well, we're paying for, yeah, exactly. We're paying for that in other ways. I mean, people, they don't realize that we're already paying into
Right.
the system. So we're only getting some of the money that we've paid back from the state.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is Erie County taxpayer money, local property taxes, school taxes, all of that, we would not be taking money out of those pots to pay.
Good. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. There should be a law in the books, when you get to a certain age, you shouldn't have to pay school taxes.
Well, you know, that discussion comes up because there was a couple bills that said rather than depend strictly on real estate, they would switch it to a combination of income tax real estate, which would help older people because by that time you got less income, so you're still going to have real estate. Real estate's going to always be there because that's a tangible item that you can't, even if you leave town and skip, you know, that's still there. But I think there, you know, reform is a whole different issue. But you know where a lot of people get confused too is that when they pay school taxes, that's just for the local school district. That's not that pot of money that's coming out of state taxes, which is probably your income tax and your other state fees, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the public school budget for, you know, secondary education and primary education is the Pennsylvania Department of Education, one section of the budget. Then you have public colleges and universities is another section, then the community college budget, which makes up the whole Department of Education budget.
Right, it's
So-
like that 14 million we
Yeah,
got, that
right,
came
so-
out of a
right,
pot of
so
money.
there's several different pots of money that we're talking about, that don't get entangled with each other.
Right.
They stay separate.
And the big kicker there is usually state income tax or state revenues that they,
Okay, I'll hang up and let somebody else.
but that's a good question, sir,
Thanks
you
for
know.
calling.
Kaz, it still sounds like you're talking from back of the council chamber.
Really, you know, these mics need to be, this is really kicking back at me hard.
It's an echo there. but
And
yeah.
you can't hear me, I'm talking right on top of it too, so.
Yeah, and I just want to mention one other aspect of that, as we're trying to work our way through this and both do our due diligence and be transparent.
Okay, I'll
to-
hang up and listen.
Yeah, be transparent to the community is, you know, there's been some, properties that have been looked at, and no specific property has been chosen. And this is what again, what my colleagues are trying to get to is, you know, if we want to know or need to know what this is going to cost us, where is the facility going to be? I mean, we can't do this on a leap of faith and trust that.
And there's so many school district properties out there that.
Well, but there have been some, you know, elements or groups of people or, you know, different organizations who have, proposed that we take property that is already on the tax roll and purchase that and take it off of the tax roll. And that, to me, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'd look at, the first thing I'd look at, but that's only me.
That's a double loss.
I'd look at some of the schools that like the school district or other districts have gotten rid of.
Right.
Because they're already off the tax roll. They're made to be a classroom. What do you do with a building that's?
Correct.
So
Yeah,
you're
so,
paying and off the tax, that's a
right,
double win.
so, especially if it's in the city of Erie, right? We know that 60% of the property is already off the tax roll.
Well, yeah.
How can we take a taxable property and now take that taxable property off the tax rolls when all of these other non-taxable properties are sitting there? Many of them vacant. So, again, in the resolution that county council passed, resolution 21, which again, we went through with a 7-0 vote, and I say that because
And that's unusual.
yeah, my colleague, that's why I say that, because my colleagues are unified in how we believe this should move forward. We specifically say in that resolution, that if we're moving this forward, we cannot take taxable property off the tax rolls. We cannot choose a taxable site and take it off of the tax rolls to try and create this, because it would be unfair to the community for us to do that.
And part of the presentation at the public hearing that struck me was that the county, for the NPRC to, you know, the county would be financially obligated to provide the location, and Mr. Maloney, I think, gave a great detailed analysis of what those costs would be. And what struck me, I mean, this deal with the NPRC as it is the original deal, leaves a lot to be desired as far as us putting a lot out there as far as that goes. And you didn't really touch on it, but with you know, with their funding stream and how they're funded, they could just pull up shop at any second and we're left holding the bag again. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of moving parts.
Right. Well, and I'm not to defend one side or the other, and that, I mean, theoretically, yes, that could happen. But I think most observers of state politics know that once a separate line item has been created for you in the state budget, the chances of that going away diminish substantially. So that's not as much a concern to me from that aspect as some of the other elements, that the potential for the operations budget would be there and be available. But the one thing that people don't understand, and it hasn't really been explained, is any funding mechanism of the community college, the actual budget is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 generally. 1/3 from the state, 1/3 from the local, 1/3 from the municipal sponsor, which in this case is Erie County. But from what the breakout is to what the actual allocation is different. Usually it's 40-60. But with this particular case, because it's a legislative line item, we're saying that we would not have a local match, that it would be from NPRC, if it was the partnership or the state and the student. So this $2 million in the operations budget is only about 50% of the budget. There's another
Hold on a second, Colin.
There's another $2.5 million, so the annual budget would be roughly $4.4 million. So we keep talking this 2 million that NPRC would be bringing to the table as the operations budget. But that's only roughly about 50%. The other 2.5 million has to come from somewhere else, and it comes from the students. That would be the student portion of it. Now, the exciting news is if we can get all of this funding to work, the local philanthropic community has stepped forward and said that they are willing to pay to help make this successful. They are willing to pay the student portion of the funding for the first 5 years to help get this off the ground. So potentially up to, possibly 500 students per year could end up having community college education provided to them for free. Because their portion would be supplemented by the philanthropic community, who would come up with that 2.5 million, which comes up with our overall budget of the 4.4,
Which would
4.5
pay for
million.
itself, right?
Right.
Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller.
I just have a quick suggestion. Cass,
Yeah,
I want you to try to get someone from the school district to come on your show. I've been asking for a couple of years now.
yeah, you don't get any volunteers, I'll tell you that. The fact that Councilman Anderson comes in here is
Rarity.
a rare sight amongst elected officials, but I will try again. I have talked to the superintendent personally and said, I would appreciate if you come on here, and talk about what's going on in the district, and I'll throw it out there again to him, okay?
Yeah, well, Cass, you got a little pull. You know that.
Well, I got pulled, but if he doesn't want to come on, I mean, there's a lot of people, I'll tell you this, and I'll say this publicly. There are a lot of elected officials that are afraid to come on a show like this because we're not holding anything back. I mean,
Let's get rid of them.
yeah, well, you know what? If you see any of them, tell them, they're I'll call them. But I even threw it out to a couple of the board members. I said, you're welcome to come on here and talk about some of the issues. I'll treat you with respect. I'll make sure everybody, you at least get to tell your thing out there. But you got to be willing to answer questions.
A lot of them won't come on the show because they don't want to face difficult questions. Not that they don't want to face them, but they don't want to say something that might be used against them in the future.
But the way that there's a lot of questions out there in the community that
Sure.
Education's a big issue.
Sure is.
People pay a lot in their taxes and they expect a lot.
I want to see him, Cass. We want him on your show.
I will work on them again, okay?
All right. Thanks for calling.
She's got it, and I tossed it out to the superintendent, some of the board members, and I said, you don't have to be afraid to come on here. We'll treat you with respect, but you got to be,
We've had people show up here and then jet out of here before the show started. Remember that?
Yeah.
They're like,
By
no.
the way, if I can just go back just for a second,
Yeah.
yes, the caller was coming in, because I don't want this point to get missed, or lost in the shuffle. Because what I said was significant, that the local philanthropic community is willing to step forward and help get this off the ground. I mean, never before have I seen so many people rowing in the same direction and believing in the same thing, that we need this and we can make it work, but we have to figure out the best way to do it and how we can make it happen so it's successful.
I think there's a lot of people rowing the boat for a lot of things in town.
Yeah, there
And
is.
I think it's the same captains and the same rowboats, but it's amazing how, and I tell people this, once we start moving, success will be, it's like everybody wants to be on that bandwagon, and that's a good thing, because, it's about education, about the city,
Yep.
about, you know, everything, right down the line. And I think I know some of the people you're talking about, that they all got a vested interest in this.
You know, we've talked about it on this show a lot, Carl, that, we've been here. A lot of positive things are going on. There's a lot of people that are working together that didn't, I mean, the fact that city council works with county council. I mean, you guys are working on the LERTA. You guys are working, well, you guys are doing the community college, but the LERTA is a big thing. I saw 6 firms want to draw plans up now for the Dobbins Landing. Before we had LERTA, they didn't want to talk about it.
Well, see, there you go, right there. I mean, the fact that you got, and this is the bad thing that happened with our casino. We only had one casino bidding. You know, you go to Allentown, they had two major corporations fighting, and what did they get out of it? Something nice. So if we had 6 firms fighting over the dock, you know, and I hear it from people, wow, you know, no, Ferris wheel is not guaranteed. It's just a thought process.
Well, I don't know why people would hate
Well, I don't know
Ferris
why
wheel.
either, but I'm saying it's a
How
thought
do you hate a
process.
Ferris wheel? It's such a,
Well, whether we do that or we do something
such an
else,
American
the whole thing was we need to bring something down here so that when
I'm gonna say this one more time, why I'm not getting on it. I'm afraid of heights. Carl knows.
well, I'm getting on it, I'm telling you right off the bat.
Well, you're crazy, so I know.
Yeah, I am, but
Yeah, you're crazy.
but I won't do the roller coaster of Waldemar. Okay, I'm not that crazy.
No ravine flyer?
No, I'm not.
Well, I have to tell you guys, you know, hot chocolate said it the best.
What's it?
Ooh,
Hot chocolate.
who's that?
Everyone loves a winner, baby.
Yes,
That's
they
no
do.
lie.
That's right.
And you watch when you know
Hot chocolate said it the best.
the same people that are yelling about that Ferris wheel will be the first ones down there. Okay,
You guys don't know what I'm even talking about.
I
do
have
you?
no clue.
we're out of it.
You
With
guys missed the whole disco era? I mean, what's going on?
Hot chocolate.
Well,
Everybody
disco
out there
was
that everybody out there that remembers
Hey.
hot chocolate, call in.
After I got married, disco was the dark side of my life where the music I thought went downhill. Cause I came out of the great era with, you know, the Doors, and
When we,
Led Zeppelin, you know, all that
whenever
stuff.
we would travel, like Carl and I would, the one thing, remember when we go down
You guys must have
DC,
been. Yeah.
when you look to the right at, what's that place? Harbor?
National Harbor.
The National Harbor. When you're driving down and you look over to that National Harbor and you see that giant Ferris wheel with the lights and everything, your attention just
Where's the
goes
National Harbor?
DC,
National Harbor, Maryland.
right outside of DC.
Cause I've been to the one in Baltimore, and the one in Chicago has a nice Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
It's not a cheap date,
Yeah,
but that's Chicago.
right.
I
But
mean,
you
if
know
we
what?
had a National Harbor kind of thing, like we talk about the Chicago,
You know,
Navy Pier.
every town can have one. It will be like Navy Pier, will it be like
No.
a Seaport Village in San Diego? Probably not,
No.
but it'll be Erie, it'll be, you know, and I think, you know, they get on Brenda and the Port Authority. But I think she's trying to get people to think that, you know, let's throw a lot of stuff out there and see what sticks.
I mean, I
You
like,
know, if we can do it,
I like it because, like we said before, I want something that people can see from the peninsula. When they're driving around the peninsula and they look and they see the lights right across,
How about the
and
people
the
in
kids in the back seat say, whoa, hey.
Yeah, right. It
you know
attracts
the
them to
people in the
downtown.
hotels that
Exactly.
stay here for, you know, people jump about how many conventions we have. But when we do have a convention, and they're here for about 3 days, what did some of the people say about Roaring Shore? They miss the waterfront. They miss the ability, people that are staying in those hotels, they get bored. They're gonna buy a couple drinks in the bar,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, they're gonna wanna walk along that boardwalk. And if they got kids,
Did you come down to the Gears and Grub and all?
I didn't make it.
You know, I did I drove
it good?
by. I drove by. What I noticed about it was there wasn't 10,000 motorcycles on State Street. You know how they line up in the middle?
Yeah.
That wasn't there. But what I did see was, I rode by around 9 o'clock at night. There was a lot of people in Perry Square. I mean, and there was, actually it was pretty happening.
Yeah.
And Coconut Joe's and the local businesses, there was people.
You know what they
happening.
did? They did something that I've been pushing for years.
What?
They left North Park Road open.
Okay.
The biggest problem we had when I used to talk to all the merchants, and I'll name them, Cow Tie, Catfish Kitchen, the diner there
Yeah.
before Days, the Sidewalk Cafe, worked on. They were all mad because they were shut down basically 1 month a year because we shut it down, right?
Yeah.
The only people that made out were people that sold beer.
Yeah.
And they left it open and all of a sudden, everybody's happy now.
Yeah, and then-
Everybody looked like they, you know,
I saw a really large crowd. I saw, the bike fest that they had at Harley Davidson was packed. That'll be down at the waterfront next year, so that'll be packed. Some of the things I read on social media about the Roar on the Shore out there, there were a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. The fact that they got hit by a tornado on that night, Saturday night, at the end of the show, or at the end of the evening, I mean, that was aside from Mother Nature maybe to get back down here, but they need to come up with some type of an agreement to bring that back.
Imagine our waterfront though, with some nice things down there to do. You can go down there and you can buy some candied peanuts or some ice cream. Those are, that's what they have on some of these other piers. You can just get out of your car, or if you're staying at the hotel or you're going, walking around, just, having a good time.
I saw a lot of good things with the Gears and Grub, and if they don't, if they're gonna play that type of game, they can keep it somewhere else.
Wait, you didn't like Gears and Grub?
Oh, I did, yeah. So I'm talking about Raw on the Show.
Well, let me tell you, when I met the Gears and Grub people, and I'll say this, and I've been a critic of the mayor, but he talked to us about it. I was up in the room when he talked to Dave Rocco, when I first heard about this, and those people couldn't have been nicer. Cut a check, they agreed to everything, they worked out problems. I think it was great for everybody. I think it was a manageable event, and I think they were very appreciative, and I think everybody else was. You didn't hear any backlash from other merchants or anything like that, John, I think when people get together, and I think it can work. You know what, I'm sad we didn't get to talk about Lerda, Carl. We're gonna have to get you to come in again.
We'll come back.
Successful
Well, it's starting to.
collaborative endeavor.
They're already starting. They're lining up to drawings.
Yeah, and the interesting thing will be when it starts to spread, and it will, to the residential community, because, people are gonna, now this land that's been laying around and all that, people are gonna have an idea in their head.
I think that a lot of people, you guys have done a pretty good job of, I know on this show alone, we've talked about the pros of Alerta. A lot of people don't really understand.
No, they still think that we're giving up money that's not there.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Now
it's money
they're all
that we're not gonna have.
Well, see, now they're gonna say, see what happened, see, they were, they were waiting for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe the project,
Yeah,
it's easy to say, rich people got money, they can do what they wanna do.
right.
But even for them, every project has a level of success that has to be met.
Right.
And if you need, the same people that yell at us about, the jobs are going to Texas. Well, there's a reason why, because Texas is giving away the farm.
Yeah.
And we gotta probably, we don't really give away the farm, but we gotta give an incentive. And at the end of the day, they forget that, how close Erie Insurance was to leaving. They could have been gone. That would have been a nightmare. You look at Gannon could have moved out somewhere. Anybody could move. Hospitals could have a different attitude. Yeah, they're tax exempt, but some are paying, half and all that. But I think overall, I think Lerda's gonna help because I know what doing nothing got us nowhere.
I agree, and I appreciate you guys having me on the show with you today.
You gonna
It's
come back
always a
sometime,
pleasure.
hopefully?
I'll always come back when I have time available and I'm invited.
Well, we got a lot to talk, Lerda's we got a big question and.
Well, so far, we've seen some positive movements on projects that we haven't had movements on in years already.
Well, yeah, and I think the interesting thing is that the cooperation at least under the surface.
Yeah.
Between, the various government bodies to get it done.
I mean, that's one area where there's clearly been improvement.
Here's what I tell taxpayers. You're gonna pay for our problems no matter what. But if we can increase the tax base, that's less stress on you, because now we can spread those costs out over a wider.
People, I don't think they'll pay, but they want to see results. I mean, same with the school board or school district, a lot of people don't, but least gotta show that they're getting something for their money. But with that being said, we're like 20 minutes over time. and
No, we're not that far over.
10. Your phones are blowing up, and look, Carl's got about 7 messages.
You'd be surprised how many people watch this show, afraid to call, so don't be afraid to call, but,
Yeah,
you know, they'll ask you afterwards, and,
yeah.
We appreciate them tuning in.
Yeah.
and thanks, Carl, I
Hey,
mean,
before we go, we gotta talk. Look at the bottom of that screen, Kaz. Tape.
did he do it?
Yep, he did it. We had a caller last week
Yeah. It
that
was
suggested you might have more callers, or you might, it would be better if you put down when the show was taped, so more people would know. So that was actually off the air. He called when we went off the air last week. So he's gonna see that and go, I gave those guys that idea. So thanks for calling, Carl, Kaz. Thanks for having us, Mike. We gotta get out
look
of here.
forward to having you on, we got more to talk about.
A lot more.
Thanks, guys.
You have been watching Taxpayers Hotline, recorded live from the fabulous city of Erie, Pennsylvania.